Assalamualaikum guys. Welcome back
to Shifa'a.
Today's episode. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say that lately we've been spending quite a bit of time focusing on ourselves and focusing on self-care.
Yeah.
And today we felt like sharing our experiences and our almost kind of like advice with you guys, or what we've learned along the way.
Yes. So, number one, why do you think we should even indulge in self-care?
I feel like we live in such a fast-paced world, right? Where it's like, oh, you're constantly working on stuff or something's expected of you. Especially with, I'm only going to be able to speak about like school and work, but it's like you'll constantly have like a new assignment, new test coming up. And so you're always in this fast-paced world with like social media as well. And so with self-care, I feel like it's easier to just kind of like slow down, appreciate the moment, appreciate yourself, and appreciate others around you. And it's like it allows you to make yourself more present in the exact moment.
Yeah. I feel like I appreciate moments more when they've already passed. And so sometimes when I catch myself in a state of peace or in a state of like thankfulness or shukr, I'm like, okay, like this is my self-care. I need to indulge in something. I need to be appreciative and I need to be happy right now, because moments just slip by, especially like you said, living in such a fast-paced world and living in like North America. You always have something to do. You always have the next assignment, the next shift, the next whatever. It's just that moment is so important just to like grasp.
I feel like it also lets you kind of detach yourself from like almost like a materialistic aspect. I feel like especially with like university fees and stuff, right? And with work, it's like, okay, like how much did I make? How many hours did I work? How much is in my bank account now? How much do I owe this person? How much do I have to pay for that? It's like when you take that time to just kind of like relax and indulge in something that you're enjoying, or just taking a moment to kind of like center yourself and ground yourself, it's a moment where you don't have to worry about that.
Mm-hmm. I feel like with that being said, it like helps you more with your independence, because we know that like it's so important for you to enjoy your own company. We came into this world alone and we're gonna leave it alone. So for you to know that you could have a good time without spending any money, for you to just be sitting in your room doing something that you enjoy doing, you're not spending any money and you're alone, that I feel like proves to you that you could be happy no matter what, like even if you have nothing.
And when you're able to enjoy your own company, it also makes you more, I don't know if this is the right word, but bearable to other people, right? Because it's like, if you don't enjoy your own company, why would other people?
Yeah, exactly. You're less of a burden.
Exactly. And you kind of notice things that like, if you're not enjoying time with yourself, you're like, oh, like I just don't feel good. But it's only you with yourself.
Yeah.
Like, maybe there's something I need to change within myself. And also like a moment of self-reflection.
Yeah. Like I feel like, this is just an example, but somebody who has a lot of negative thoughts or like pessimistic thoughts with themselves, they wouldn't want to be alone with those thoughts, but it kind of does like have an impact on your friends and family when you're around that person that is always just negative, always has no type of like positivity in their life. And I bet you behind closed doors they're the same way, with their own thoughts. So to really just detach yourself from that and to be happy on your own, like, is the most important thing.
What are some things you like to do to kind of enjoy your own company, or like activities you do alone that you enjoy?
I feel like no matter what I'm doing, as long as I have an empty mind, I'm enjoying it. Like when I wake up in the morning, I write out this whole to-do list and I really try to get everything done on that to-do list. So when I do finish whatever I have to do for that day, anything that comes afterwards, like taking a shower or going on a walk, like whatever it is that I'm doing afterwards, it feels like self-care because there's nothing on my mind, and that feels so good. Like even when I'm doing chores, if there's nothing on my mind, there's nothing that I'm running to do right after, no due dates, nothing that I'm stressed about. Like it feels so good to wash dishes. That's so weird to say, but like to wash dishes or to help cook or whatever it is.
Because it's not like an allotted time.
Yeah.
You have that time to just kind of like, I can drag it out if I really need to. There's nothing that's like calling me right now. It's not like I have to go submit this assignment. It's not like I have something waiting for me.
Yeah. And you know, what we talked about earlier about like being present, like I feel like I use my five senses when I'm like
I know.
I try to like, okay, let's say I'm taking a shower, right? I will smell the body wash before I use it, and I will like feel it in between my hands before I put it on, and I'll like feel it on my skin, and then like obviously I won't taste it, but like like I try to use all my senses because it feels so much more present. Like I feel like I'm there. I'm not just washing my body. Like it just feels better.
Even with just like when I'm like going somewhere, I'm walking somewhere, it's just like I love hearing like the birds or like the sounds of like the cars going by and like just smelling like that fresh green air. Like sometimes I'll be walking to school and like someone's like mowing their lawn. Yeah,
I love that
and
smell.
the smell of like the fresh cut grass. It's just like you're able to just kind of like appreciate everything. It's not like everything is just going by you so quickly.
What else? What do you like to do for self-care?
For me, I really like to do like maintenance. So like self-maintenance, and not necessarily like spending money to get my nails done, spending money to get my eyebrows done. Just like, oh, like I'll do like a hair mask or face mask or even just like do my lashes and things like that that I find that's just like, okay, now like I can cater to myself as well, because I feel like I'm always catering towards others. I also really like to kind of be creative with it, and I really like to crochet, and it's honestly just like that, finding new patterns, like making functional pieces that are like, when people ask me, like I made this one bag, and every time I wear it, like someone will ask me like, oh my god, did you make that? And it's like, yes, I actually did. And it's like people are like always shocked, but it's like I did that. Like I made this with my own two hands. I really love doing art.
I think with those types of projects, like it feels so good because there's an end result, and it also drives you to like to finish it. Like recently I took up painting. Like I'll paint just for fun, like nothing professional, but because I know that I'm painting something, I'm in the middle of painting something, I want to do it more. So throughout the day, like it's not that I have to start a whole new painting, but like I'm in the middle of painting something. So I feel like it would be the same with crocheting. Like, you know, you're halfway through a bag, so you want to do it more, and just to get to it.
Especially in a world where we're so kind of like conditioned to think one way, or we really have like control over very little, right? When it comes to art or like creative projects, you have control.
Full control.
You have full control, like colors, patterns. You have control over all of it. Nobody is telling you that you have a specific deadline to finish it by. Nobody's telling you when you need to do it, when you need to start. It's just you get to have complete control, and I think that's what I love about it so much.
Also, I feel like the stereotypical kind of like idea of self-care is to like get your nails done or dye your hair, and which is also self-care in a way, like just like pouring into yourself. But even these little things, like just your everyday tasks, if you just put more like khushu'a into them, or like more thought into them, they could feel like an act of self-care, like taking a bath and like going on walks or doing chores. Like it feels like self-care when it's just you and yourself, and you can bear yourself when you are, you know, enjoying your own company.
And even I feel like when you take time to be more present, it's easier to relax and unwind. Because you know that as soon as you finish something, or even like let's say you don't finish something, when you're more present in the moment, you're not carrying all of these stresses. And finding outlets such as like art or things like that, or like going on a walk, these are outlets that you can use, so you're not carrying all of this stress and all of these feelings.
I agree. And you know, another good one would be journaling, because that one is like immediate pouring out your raw feelings into something. I feel like with crocheting and with painting, you're kind of expressing yourself, but you're not expressing your emotions,
your exact feelings.
So when you're journaling, you're expressing your exact feelings, emotions at that time. And it also, I feel like it brings in gratitude. Journaling is great because you could go back, you know, however many pages and just read about yourself, and like you start to just fall in love with the way that you write, the way that you think. You grow a certain bond to yourself when you go through like experiences by yourself and you're writing about them. They could be good or bad, and like just looking back at them feels like an accomplishment in it of itself.
I feel like it also helps with, I guess, like a sense of growth.
Yeah.
Because I remember so many times when I look back at like my childhood diary, I'll go back and I'll be like, oh, this person like took my pencil and I'm so mad at them.
Yeah.
Like, why was I worried about that?
Yeah.
Right? And so that changes how I approach problems now. Because I'm like, in a couple months, not even years, in a couple of months, I'm going to be like, why was I stressing about that?
Exactly.
It was just a small inconvenience that I took to heart. That was no big deal.
Yeah. And also, I feel like in a more healthy aspect, when you do put your feelings down on paper, that growth comes in when you're in a better place later on, inshallah, and you look back and you're like, I'm so happy I'm not in that place anymore and I got out of it, you know? You're comparing yourself to something that's healthy instead of us comparing ourselves to people that are, you know, in Dubai living their best life, people who are millionaires. You comparing yourself to you just a couple pages back is so healthy for growth.
Exactly,
you know?
And it's not unrealistic.
It's not unrealistic.
Because what we see in the media is this constant unrealistic portrayal of the lifestyle you should be living, the family you should have, your friendships, your relationships. But then it's like when you're just looking back at you, being like, hey, like, look, like I was struggling with that a few months ago, a few years ago, and now I'm not struggling with it anymore. It also kind of it makes this gratitude, and I feel like it strengthens my relationship with Allah as well.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
It's happened so much where I'll just look around, like, honestly, like, alhamdulillah for where I am.
Yeah.
It may not be perfect where I am, and of course, like, sure, I'll deal with little minor inconveniences here and there, but right now I'm here, I'm alive, I'm healthy. I will get through it.
Exactly. And that's also going back to the whole thing about like living a fast-paced world. Every day we're thinking about the future and where we might, like, even when I'm hanging out with my friends, I'm thinking about, oh, you know, when we get married, when we have our own houses, when we do this, when we do that, when we're old enough to travel. But like, we're not appreciating that we're in that setting with our friends in the first place.
Exactly.
You know, we have a roof over our heads, we're having a laugh, you know, all of that is so important. And you just, it makes you feel so grateful and thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you can even experience these little things that you might fly past, and then in the future you're going to regret. You're going to regret not like enjoying them to the full capacity.
And taking that time to even just admire the beauty of Allah that surrounds us. Like, even just going on a simple walk, like, you'll see a tree. And be like, oh my god, like, that tree is just so beautiful. Like, that flower, the way that everything is built is so beautiful. And you only really appreciate it when you slow down, because everything is passing by you so quickly. It's upon us to slow down and just appreciate it, like the birds, the animals, the nature, the flowers, even like the sky. The sunsets.
You know, like, every time we have a sunset, what's the first thing everybody does is just pull out their phones and take a picture, because it doesn't happen every day that you see like a really beautiful pink, red sunset, and everybody always takes a photo. It's so beautiful, even looking at the sky in its like natural form during the day, during the night, like, everything around us is so, as cliche as it sounds, but because we're so stimulated, we're just always looking at the next thing that like keeps us entertained. These things fly past us, and that's where the ayah comes in, like the ayah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about. How many more signs do you need? You know, like, everything around us is a sign, but because we're so used to it, we're so used to the sun being there, we don't appreciate its like beauty or its presence. We don't appreciate how much we need it until it's gone, you know?
And it's important to admire it with the naked eye. Because you could try and take a picture of the moon with your phone, and it won't come out nearly as nice as if you were just to see it plainly without a phone in the way. I feel like that's where it comes into. You just need to admire things for what they are. It's important.
That destimulation, like, going on a walk with no music, just listening to pure like nature sounds, even if it is somebody's mowing their lawn or there's construction nearby, that's just a sign of life, you know? That everybody has their own lives and they're all busy doing their own thing.
Like, it makes you see people as more humans.
It
I
does.
feel like I'm more inclined to connect with people, like, even if I'm just like walking in the mall or something, right? I will smile to
Yeah.
everybody I make eye contact with
Yeah.
because we're all humans at the end of the day.
Yeah, we all have that in common. Like,
We're all humans. Like it's about time we
Yeah.
start connecting with everyone, especially after COVID. I feel like everyone is just like keeps to themselves.
Yeah.
Like I want to connect with people.
Yeah. And I feel like we were all kind of forced to like our own company. And the minute that we kind of came out of isolation, nobody wanted to be alone anymore. Everybody's trying to take the opportunity to be at the next party and like try to do all these crazy things. But it's still important to know how to like being alone and to like just take care of yourself. Especially with, I feel like when you have those really long, hard days, you unwinding and refreshing yourself, it prepares you for the future. You know, it prepares you to have a better day the next day. Like, let's say I go to a wedding one night, you know, and I come home and I know I have work the next day, but I stay at the wedding too long. I don't really fully take off my makeup. I'm like, okay, I'll just shower tomorrow. I just slip into bed. I'm already setting myself up for failure the next day because I have to go and deal with all my, like, you know, my decisions that I made the night before. And this has happened to me so many times.
Guilty as charged.
Literally so guilty. But unwinding and, like, taking that time to refresh yourself before you go to bed, like, just putting in that effort, praying Isha. Oh, my God, you know, before, like, if you miss a prayer, it feels so guilty on your conscience.
Oh, my God, I can't sleep.
Literally, you can't. Even though, like, the effort of you getting up and praying is not, it's nothing.
Yeah.
But then when you pray and you're in bed and it's just you in your bed and your blanket, that also I feel like is self-care. Like, there's nothing on your chest, nothing on your mind. You don't have any guiltiness. Like, you could die in that moment and just be like, okay, alhamdulillah, at least I prayed Isha. You know, that is so important.
My favorite thing to do, especially during when I like after I pray Isha, I love just making dua and just having that one-on-one time with Allah. And sometimes I won't even ask for anything. I'll just be like, Allah, like, alhamdulillah for everything you have given me, because you could have put me anywhere in the world, made me look like anything, given me any sort of family, any sort of issues, and over here, alhamdulillah, I am not suffering.
Yeah, we can't complain about anything.
Exactly.
Our minor inconveniences are nothing to people.
We have a roof over our head. We're not worrying about where the next meal is coming from, alhamdulillah. Like, we are not worrying about if we're going to be able to wake up in the morning. Like, I guess you could, but it's not like you're waking up healthy. You're able to see. You're able to talk. Able to just walk down the stairs. Like, all these small things that we don't take into account. Yeah. And when you start doing self-care, you're like, wait, I need to start being more appreciative.
Or even, like, I find myself sometimes, astaghfirullah, I'll be like, ugh, my shift tomorrow, like, I have work. But then I'm like, alhamdulillah, I have a job. You know, like, people out there don't have jobs. People out there with families that need to provide for their families. They just don't have the money. And I'm over here complaining about my shift tomorrow where I don't even have bills to pay for. Like, you know, it's nothing. I'm making money for myself at the end of the day. And then it's just, it all ties back to that thankfulness, that gratefulness. And that is self-care. Being grateful is self-care.
Especially when you take that gratefulness and tie it to Allah.
Yeah.
When you are grateful, Allah gives you more.
Yeah.
If you just take that time out of your day to say alhamdulillah, honestly, I've seen it where people will be going through the toughest of things and still be able to see the good in the situation. Yeah. And then I'll see people like who will be sick, right? Like they'll have like a really bad flu or something. Someone asks me, they'll say alhamdulillah still. Yeah. And it's honestly, that shows your trust in Allah, because you know that it could have been worse. Yeah. You know that Allah could have tested you with something so much harder, and you still chose to say alhamdulillah.
And those are the type of people that can be alone. Because no matter the situation with themselves, they know Allah has their back. That's the most important thing to them. They know that Allah's going to get them out of the situation. And if they don't, they know that that's their fate. Like, that person can be alone with themselves. But somebody who is constantly, like, putting themselves down, just dwelling on a situation instead of figuring out solutions to get out of it. Number one, people don't want to be around you. Number two, you don't want to even be around yourself. You know, like, you don't have trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be alone in that state. I feel like we talked about this earlier, but like removing yourself from your phone and from music and from like any other,
Music is such a big one.
It is such a big
because
one.
You're constantly just like jamming out, and it makes you less observant of your surroundings, especially when people are driving.
That's true.
Oh my god, I always see people with like loud music on and stuff to the point where they're not even paying attention to their surroundings.
Yeah.
I love just taking like a quiet drive and just like, especially when I'm driving somewhere in like the rural areas, you know, and you're just admiring like the quiet and like you're on a nice road, like it's just nice.
Silence sometimes sounds so good.
Quiet is good.
Quiet is good, bro. You know, today I was literally like, my mom asked me to cut chicken for her because she was gonna make dinner when she got home, and I was alone in the house.
Where's my dinner?
Go down and get some if you want. We're filming this at my house, guys. But anyways, I was cutting the chicken. I know this sounds so bad, but I was just listening to the sound of my knife on that cutting board, and it was perfectly okay. Like, to me, it felt like, silence. Nobody was there with me, even though it's a little bit,
It's just kind of nice because you can let your mind wander.
Exactly. And that's what you need.
I feel like self-care, all in all, is very important to nurture that connection you have with Allah.
Yeah. It grows it, like, again, we talked about gratefulness. Like, it just overall makes you feel that bond.
Which is important.
Yeah.
That bond, you need it to understand your connection with your Creator and what He has given you.
Yeah. And, I've heard something that's, like, it was, like, having khushu'a is worshipping Allah as if you see Him. And I feel like that's really exactly what you feel when you're in that state of self-care. Beautiful. When you feel like Allah's there with you, in the room with you, like you're making du'as as if you're having a conversation with Him.
Inshallah, I hope you guys spend this week practicing some self-care, appreciating things around you. Spend some time in the sun.
Yeah.
Just go lay down in your backyard on the ground.
Please, like, just soak it all up and while it's here.
Inshallah, till next week, guys. Till next episode.
And assalamu alaikum, guys.
Assalamu alaikum.